Okay, so I'm going to take you through a run through of true claims, and this is how to leverage vehicle property damage, which you probably hate, to recuperate tens of millions of dollars in leaking bodily injury case value, and also to turn an annoying, tedious, unpleasant process into a pain-free, easy process that gets you more bodily injury clients and profitable if you want on top of that. So there's over 100 law firms on it so far from coast to coast. There are two types of cases, claims, reports that this relates to. So there's fair market value, which is for total losses, and there's diminished value. Fair market value is a lot more straightforward, where the vehicle has been totaled and you're trying to see if the offer from the insurance company is a lowball offer or not. We'll get into that. Diminished value is a little bit less straightforward. Most people have a misunderstanding about it. So when a vehicle is damaged and then repaired, even if it's repaired back to perfect condition, it still has the damage on its record. And if you were to try to sell it, no one's going to pay the full amount of it because it has the damage on its record. So the question is, how much has the value diminished by as a result of that, which you technically won't know until it's sold. So what it comes down to is having the best amount of proof, evidence to show a valuation in your client's favor. And the better you can produce that documentation, the better you have a chance at claiming more money. The benefits to you here are millions or tens of millions of dollars more in bodily injury cases per year. Let's go through that with you. Intake calls become easier for your team. Property damage becomes easy for your team. Tons of Google reviews fast every month. To differentiate yourself from every personal injury firm around you. Get your clients a lot more money faster, and you can even start monetizing property damage at 6 to 7 figures. Also, it ends up costing you nothing because it can be used as done as a pass-through cost, and it's easy to begin immediately. In terms of the monetization side of things, so it's usually 20 to 40% of the settlement for those who choose to charge. So let's say you're doing per 10 monthly motor vehicle accidents. If you can net 1,000 or more on each times 10, that's 10,000 per month, which is 120,000 per year, 6 figures. So it comes out to about 6 figures per roughly 10 monthly MVAs. Here's how it works. So step one is you enter the vehicle information. So VIN, mileage at loss, date of loss, zip code, and if it's diminished value, the repair estimate once the repairs are complete. Simple as that. It runs the numbers and comes to the final valuation number, whether it's total loss or diminished value. And then you can purchase it from there, get the report if interested. So that's how simple it is on the front end. On the back end, it's kind of the exact opposite. It taps into about 8 APIs, more than 35 data points, 60 plus calculations, and it does everything in about 1 to 5 minutes. So here's a real diminished value example. In this case, this was over a year ago. The initial offer from the insurance was $1,100. The true claims value came to about 7,500, and the settlement, after some back and forth, came at 5,700, an increase of 4,600. The attorney was getting 40% in that particular case. So for a very minor amount of work, made a little over $2,000. You can see it includes a detailed comparable vehicle analysis where it searches hundreds, sometimes thousands of dealerships, depending. It does a mileage adjustment in reference to the subject vehicle. The subject vehicle is the vehicle owner's vehicle. It deconstructs the package options in reference to the subject vehicle, including the ones that are extra and which ones are missing. Gets all the MSRP values of all the package options, and then it adjusts them, and then it further adjusts that for depreciation and to a final adjusted value for that comparable vehicle. Does that for each of the comparable vehicles. This would be a very time-consuming thing for an appraiser to do. Here it does it in seconds, and then it takes an average of all the comparable vehicles. This particular report is over a year old now. It does the same thing, but it does it for pre-loss comps and post-loss comps, so it's even more valuable, and it takes a difference between them. It does some more calculations. It does an analysis of the repair estimate to come to a damage adjustment, and then it factors that in to a final diminished value. It tacks on the repair estimate PDF and tries to grab screenshots of the comparable vehicles, throws everything into a report that's about 8 to 20 pages long, and then spits that out in a matter of minutes. You can see over here, this was actually my first customer law firm. He ran it on one that was 2,100 also. The insurance paid out the full amount, and there's the 5,700, and he's done it on more than 40 of them since then. Little background on True Claims. So I connected with an appraiser about a year and a half ago, who's assessed over 20,000 vehicles. And he told me he spent 15 years going through 19 software companies to try and automate this process. He said all 19 of them said it was impossible to do. One of them, which was like a fleet company with a development team, said he could attempt it. He'd have to charge him $1 million with no time frame on delivery. That was obviously too expensive and risky. So he did not do that. And he also didn't want to work with me on it because he had already been through it many times. But I said I've never failed yet. I was able to build a working version, and then the first live version was in December 2023. Now there's over 100 law firms on it, and more than 50 vehicle appraisers as well. And it takes about 2 to 5 minutes to generate a report that would normally take an appraiser about 2 to 3 hours to put together. Key features: unparalleled speed. There's nothing else that can produce a comparable vehicle report for vehicle owners like this on the market. Extremely detailed, but also very clearly and transparently laid out. It doesn't hide behind some unknown formula, and it just doesn't hide behind a lot of wording. It just shows the numbers in a very transparent way. No expertise required. I had tons of law firms where a paralegal has signed up with no guidance, no training, and they've been able to use it and get an output report within minutes. It has an auto expanding search. So it'll start looking for comparable vehicles closer, like 100 miles, 200, and it will expand outwards until it finds enough to put a report together. It has this redo report feature. So a while back, a number of law firms were saying, I love this, but can you make the number higher? I can't actually manipulate the formula or anything like that because it follows a very strict set of calculations. But I made a feature where the attorney, the law firm, can choose to make it search a larger radius for comparable vehicles. And what that did is it expanded the range of comparable vehicles and the final diminished value as a result of that. So we have cases where it brought a $500 up to $3,000, 2,000 up to 7,000, and has also resulted in settlements accordingly with those larger amounts. You can have the client pay. So most law firms charge it on the front end and then, pay on the front end and then charge the client upon settlement. So it ends up costing them nothing, but the minority, choose to have the client pay on the front end, which is fine. You have that choice on a per case basis. Pricing. If you were to pay an appraiser, it's about $500 to $800, and they typically take about 1 to 3 weeks to get back to you. Expensive, slow, you're dependent on them. It's not really scalable, especially if you do any kind of volume. With TRUEclaims, it's $0 to run the analysis, between $200 and $300 per report, depends how many you buy in bulk. And there are other dependencies on there as well. Takes a couple of minutes. You could do it for diminished value and fair market value total loss cases. In terms of using it, so you'll see new report, this is from the dashboard, put in the VIN, mileage at loss, zip code of the vehicle owner, date of loss, next, add the vehicle owner's first name and last name, and you run the report. Simple as that. In a couple of minutes, you get an output report, that full 8 to 20 page report. If you want to have your client pay for the report, you'll see the collect payment from client. You put their email address, they get an email, which brings them to a page where they can make payment. And then you continue like normal. That's diminished value. Total losses now. So the only method that works against the insurance company is a comparable vehicle analysis, which is what TRUEclaims does. They don't care about book values. You can send them the book values. One of the things that a lot of law firms do, if they help here, is they will instruct to check the book values or direct them there. And then when it doesn't get any movement or any significant impact on the offer from the insurance company, they could at least say, okay, we tried to help, and that's kind of where it ends. This allows you to actually help. So you'll see over here where a TRUEclaims report helped get an extra $1,000 within a couple of hours for this law firm. This other one brought an initial offer of $1,500 up to an $8,000 settlement. In this case, he took it to small claims court to get it done, but you can still get pushback, okay? So the question is, how do you get your client a lot more money? It's by invoking what's called the appraisal clause. If you're not sure what this is, don't worry about it, because most personal injury attorneys don't know what it is, or maybe they've just heard of it but don't really know what it is. It's a shame because it's a lot of money lost for your clients, but you're about to learn right now. So here's how it works and how it works through TRUEclaims. Your client gets the offer from the insurance company. It's almost always a lowball offer. About 90 to 95% of the time, roughly, it's a lowball offer. The rest of the 5 to 10% of the time, it's a fair offer. In TRUEclaims, you run a fair market value report from your dashboard. It comes to the number. This is actually good for two reasons, because it costs you nothing to do this. It costs TRUEclaims, but it costs you nothing. We make it free because that way you can run it on every single one of them. So you have two cases here. One is where it is a fair offer from the insurance company. And if it is, you can then tell your client that we actually ran it with our software and we found that the offer that they gave is a fair one. And you'll take the emotional side out of it, because sometimes vehicle owners think that their vehicle is worth more than it is. Here, you can actually tell them, no, the offer was fair. In the case where it was a lowball offer, you can buy the report and send it off to the insurance company. And then if they still give too much pushback, and if you can't do small claims court or you don't want to do that, then you'll see this option to click if you're getting pushback, and it will explain the appraisal clause, and it will make it so you can connect immediately with a vetted appraiser through TRUEclaims. To be vetted, there's over 60 vehicle appraisers on TRUEclaims, but a small subset of them are vetted. Vetted status means that they've come to at least 3 solid settlements using TRUEclaims, and they've uploaded that as evidence, as a reference point, so that you can see it in their profile when you connect with them. Here's how the appraisal clause works. So you connect with a vetted appraiser through TRUEclaims. The appraiser gets your client's file, and you get their contact information. The appraiser reruns the numbers themselves in TRUEclaims. Appraiser instructs you to invoke the appraisal clause by email or on behalf of your client. In the insurance company and you, your client, are then required to hire independent appraisers. So you pay the appraiser about $500 to $600. You'll get a discount of about $100 doing it through TRUEclaims. Before you pay anything, you will already see what the appraiser has come to, and those past evidence of their settlements that they've done already as a frame of reference to decide if it makes sense. Appraiser puts their logo and a signature on the appraisal. They go to negotiate on your client's behalf. The appraiser reaches settlement and your clients get paid. The whole thing typically takes days, not weeks. So here's where it's very exciting. So the following are actual settlements by appraisers using TRUEclaims on total loss appraisal clauses. Over here, you can see $49,000 extra for the vehicle owner. It's a 2013 Rolls-Royce. Obviously, that's a more expensive one. The insurance offered $97,000. The appraiser came to $146,000, and they settled for the exact amount the appraiser did in 4 days. $9,100 extra for the vehicle owner. This is a 2000 Ford F-250. It's not an expensive or new vehicle. $14,000. The appraiser came to $26,000, settled for $23,000, settled in 1 day. $20,000 extra on a 2005 Dodge Ram. $13,000 up to $38,000 by the appraiser, settled at $33,000 in 7 days. $16,000 on a 2007 GMC Sierra. $11,000 up to $27,000, settled just shy of $200 of it in 3 days. 4 days, 4 days, 4 days. Here's 10 and 22, but most of them are under 7 days to settlement. You see, 7 days, 5 days, 2 days, 4 days. Normally, you can struggle weeks to make any headway on total losses. Here, you can get results extremely quickly for your client. Here, $4,200 on a 2007 Honda Odyssey. The insurance offered $2,000. They settled at $6,200. That's a more than 200% increase in 7 days. My personal favorite, $4,800 increase, settled 42 minutes after sending off the report. There have been many, many, many more hundreds of these. You can see this is the first case example of, so there have been many where appraisers have done the appraisal clause using TRUEclaims. This was actually the first case where the feature that it connects a law firm with an appraiser to help in the way I just described was done. The insurance offered $14,000. The settlement came to $24,000, which was an increase for her client of $10,000 that happened within about 2 weeks. In her case, her plan is to pay the cost of the appraisal clause and then charge 15 to 20% of the settlement amount, the difference in the settlement amount above the insurance offer. So you can do that however you want, but just to show you as a frame of reference. Now, let's say that you need to take a diminished value one to court. You need an expert witness to back the report. And since TRUEclaims is an automated generated report, there's no expert witness. But in the same way as the total losses, you have tons of appraisers or a small subset of them that are vetted to connect with that can help you with that. You'd really only want to do that on the small percentage where that ends up being relevant, which is, I don't know the exact statistics, but I would say probably less than 1%, and it's on the high value one. So if something's a 50,000 to 100,000 diminished value claim where the insurance is pushing back a lot, then you can make good on this. There's some extra costs associated with that. If you handle a lot of them and you need a streamlined intake process, you will see this intake links or intake forms over here. Create one for diminished value, create one for total losses. It'll have when you send it to people, it will collect information from them. It'll take them about 2 or 3 minutes to add the information. They fill it, and once they submit it, you get notified by email. It goes to your dashboard like normal, and then you can start it like usual, same as before. Send that link to every single client, and you have a very easy, very non-time consuming intake process. To educate them, because you don't want to have to explain everything to them, there are these 2 one-pagers that you will find directly on your dashboard. And when you're opening them, it'll have you upload your company logo, and it will automatically generate a version for you branded with your logo at the top. For diminished value, it has the value proposition, the steps, and then examples of settlements. So your team doesn't have to actually explain anything. Just give them the one-pager, or you could even send it by email, up to you. And then for total losses, same thing. It explains the value proposition, the steps of how it works, including the appraisal clause and example settlements. So again, you don't need to explain anything to them. I sat down with Chris Mullins of Intake Academy not too long ago, and she's extremely experienced when it comes to the sales intake side of things. She's been doing it for more than 25 years. She's consulted with over 1,000 law firms and personally analyzed over 50,000 calls. And what's important to understand is the basic, as a general guideline, results of our conversation, which is, and she described how awkward it is for people when they can't deal with the property damage effectively at intake. That awkward nervousness when responding about property damage is probably about 70% of the time. Intake team is the most important department in your firm. If you don't set them up for success with everything you can possibly do, you're setting them up for failure. It's probably 30% of those that lead to lost bodily injury cases, rough estimation. You've basically spent marketing dollars out of the goodness of your heart to supply your leads to your competitors. You're losing about 4 bodily injury cases out of 25 calls per day. 90% of owners think their intake is converting these to bodily injury cases. That's because they're usually not intimately involved in the intake team. In over 1,000 firms, I've never come across one that handles this conversation well. Law firms don't know this is an area that could be fixed, and now you have that solution. Okay, so let's examine what this looks like quickly for one intake person. Let's say one intake person is doing 25 calls per day. Let's say, to be more conservative than the 60% of them bring up property damage. That comes out to about 15 calls. If about 30% of those calls go badly and lose the bodily injury case, let's be even more conservative and assume that only 10 of them are like that. So 10% times 15 calls per day is about 1.5 cases lost per day. 1.5 per day times 55 days per week times 50 weeks per year is about 375 lost per year. If your average case value is probably higher than this, but let's say it's 10,000, so dollars lost per year, you're talking 10,000 times 375 per year equals about 3.7 million lost per year. Okay, I'm going to show you a little calculator. You can actually use this directly from the website to see it yourself. Okay, so from the website over here, you scroll down to the bodily injury calculator over here. You could see for every 25 intake calls, let's say 15 of them, 60%, let's say, ask about the property damage. And let's say of those 30%, but let's actually make it lower so that it reflects the numbers that we said before. Let's say it's 2 only, and your average case value is 10,000. Number of sales intake calls per day, let's say 25, calculate dollars lost So let's say only 8% of them are being lost, which is 2 bad calls out of 25 where the bodily injury case is lost because you're not outwardly talking about the property damage. Per 25 calls, so 25 times 8% lost times 10,000 per case, that's $20,000 lost. So if you're doing 25 calls per day, then 20,000 lost per week. That comes to that amount times 5 work days per week, which is 100,000 lost per week. Per month, 440,000. So it's 20,000 per day times 22-ish work days per year. 20,000 per day times about 250 work days per year. It's about $5 million lost. Let's say you're doing 100 intake calls, then comes to per day, it comes to about 80 grand lost per day. Per week, 400,000. Per month, 1.7 million, and about 20 million lost per year. This is why it's so important to incorporate this at intake so that you're preemptively handling it on everyone and you're not taking any chance about losing that bodily injury case and having them go to your competitor. Google reviews. So instead of waiting 9 months, 1 to 2 years to get each Google review, here you're probably waiting 1 to 4 weeks to get each one. Instead of hundreds of hours, you're talking about minutes of time from a paralegal for the whole process of collecting that money for your client. You're hoping they'll give you one in the end. Here you have this monthly revolving door of happy clients. You might try to manually collect. We have an automated review collection system built into TRUEclaims. And here you probably look at the same as every other personal injury firm right now. And this way you'll have hundreds or thousands of reviews about excellent settlements for property damage. And keep in mind, you're thinking about bodily injury, but the majority of vehicle owners are probably thinking about their vehicle. And if you can join the mental disconnect between those two things, you're going to get them for the bodily injury because you're helping them with the property damage. Overall summary benefits to you. Talking millions, tens of millions of dollars more per year in bodily injury cases. Intake calls become easier for your team. Property damage becomes easy for your team. Tons of Google reviews fast every month. Differentiate yourself from every personal injury firm around you. Get your clients a lot more money faster, and you can start monetizing property damage if you want. And the whole thing ends up costing you nothing in the end, and it's easy to begin today. What's really important here is the owner has to give the mandate so that it's clear for everyone, and you need to appoint a point person, someone to coordinate with TRUEclaims for execution, because most owners don't do that, and to make this part of your intake process for everyone that comes in. Most people don't even know about diminished value, so they'll be very happy when you're getting them more money. And most people don't know about the appraisal clause and how much more money they can get on the total losses. They usually just accept the offer. Next steps are creating a TRUEclaims account. Takes about a minute. You can add all your employees who will be doing reports, and you start intaking or running them. That's basically it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out.